everyone. My name is Tim, and I'm with the Security Coordination Center Incident Response Team at Adobe. Briefly introduce myself. So yes, I am with Adobe Incident Response. I work at ground zero, so sometimes I need to deal with compromised hosts. Sometimes I need to do forensics. So that it's a very hands-on task for me to deal with different compromised hosts and all kinds of attacker, these kind of things. My primary focus is on incident response automation. One of my major objectives is to make our incident responder life easier. So this is my ultimate goal. Before I joined Adobe, have a different role across different industry. At that time, my primary focus is on Purple Teaming, on automation, and I'm also a spunker for near 10 years. A little bit promotion here. So I'm a director of monitoring of global Collegiate penetration test competitions. I'm managing the monitoring infrastructure. So if any student from the world, we are global competition from the world, interested in pen test competitions, talk to me after the talk. So yeah, we love to connect with other university, and yeah, we are actually in the application period. So we are accepting applications from different universities. So yeah, it's a global competitions. Okay, so the agenda is pretty simple. Introductions. I will highlight the problem we have and the solutions, and we have a demo. And then we will talk about the benefits and takeaways. So 2 years before I joined Adobe, so one of my tasks is to think about, is to revamp our forensics lab. So I actually did some research online, and I found this picture from Wikipedia, and it looks very fancy, and people wearing protective clothes, and yeah. Are you able to see the screen? Okay. So yeah, so it's a very fancy, but if you look into more details, actually those machines, there is no cable connecting. So maybe this is fake, I don't know. And actually today, Adobe announced that added the generative AI to the Adobe Express. So I want to take this opportunity to try to use Adobe Express to do something like text to image, and want to see how AI think about the forensics labs looks like. And so it should be very fast. So it looks fancy, and I think, yeah. So the AI think the lab should be like this, something like a scientific movie or something like a Hollywood movie. And yeah, so it looks very fancy, but in realistic, most of the company, I think, if the company is not a professional forensics firm, they only has a workstation, a forensics workstation, or maybe just do the forensics on the laptop. And when we need to do, for example, forensics, we typically connect the hard drive to the forensics workstation or laptop through a white broker. So yeah, as you see, most of the company, they don't have a very fancy labs. But the problem is, Adobe has a lot of resources on cloud. Are these technology able to handle our cloud forensics? Yeah, so one of the things is, Adobe is heavily rely on the cloud compute workloads. So something like AWS EC2 or Azure virtual machines or the Google compute engine. So this talk, what we will cover is our approach in handling the forensics for our cloud compute workloads. So basically, our workflow is have the cloud lab environment set up. and then we'll go to the data acquisitions, and then go to the data triage. In this talk, we will focusing on automate our cloud lab environment setup. So basically, when we do forensics on the cloud compute workloads, typically we collect 4 data sources. The first one is we need to look into the cloud control plane forensics. So, for example, you need to look into the IAM logs, you need to look into the cloud trail logs, and the second one, level forensics. Some of the company, they deploy, for example, they enabled the VPC flow log, or maybe they deploy the virtual IDS, IPS on cloud. The log maybe typically the log will be forwarded to SIEM. And the third item is the log forensics. It's about the host log, the OS log, the application logs. But we found that most of the time, not all the log being forwarded to SIEM. So in that case, we will need to look into, for example, under the host forensics, we need to look into the disk. Sometimes we need to do a live forensics. Sometimes we need to do a memory forensics, because what we found in the past experience is when the attacker exploit the web application, they just do it. The exploit actually is fileless, so you don't find any artifact on this. So in that case, you need to look into the memory. So for the first 3 items, actually mostly covered by SIEM, but we will focusing, in this talk, we will focusing on the last 2, log forensics and the host forensics, memory dump and the disk image. So one of the problems when we do a data acquisition is for logs, this is on SIEM, no problem. But for the disk image and memory dump, think about if the host is on cloud, and you try to transfer the memory dump and disk image to your local labs, it is impossible. On the left bottom side, actually, I took this screen from AWS. It lists out some common instance type. So you can see some of the VM, the memories can be 64 gigs. 100 gigs and something like, and the storage is something like terabytes. So this is impossible to transfer the memory dump and the disk image to your local labs. And the office IT will, hey, why are you downloading tons of data from the internet to the office? So most of the people think setting our environment on cloud and just transfer all the memory dump, disk image on cloud, and we remove access to that environment. So this method is good, but for us, a global company, a big company, we have workload everywhere in every countries, and not every country, a lot of countries. And we use all the cloud service provider. So when we think about deploy our forensics environment, if we put our forensics environment in US, and then we have a compromised machine on maybe Asia, then we still need to transfer the memory dump and disk image across ocean, which obviously not efficient. If we deploy the environment everywhere, then you know the problems. Yeah, definitely the memory dump and disk image acquisition will be faster because there is an environment very close to the affected, compromised machines. But the problem is it's very expensive to spin up so many environments on cloud. This is a big problem, and not only money, but also if you think about handling or managing 100 of forensics environment on cloud is infeasible. It's not feasible. So another problem is, so in Adobe we have a big IR team. So we are partner with, we work with each other. So if we only has a single forensics lab environment and then everyone remote it, use it, eventually the machine will become a mess. So everyone just use the machines and they put the files everywhere, and then someone install something, upgraded a Python library, then eventually it will break, and then you, for example, one volatility, why there is a missing library or something doesn't work. So this is I think it's applicable to any labs, not only the forensics lab. If a single environment being used by multiple people, then it's a very big problem in managing. So yeah, I'm starting about a new project on forensics VM. So this logo actually created by one of my colleagues, and yeah, it's using Adobe Photoshop. Yeah. So this project we are thinking about, we need to do something like automate to create the cloud forensics environment very fast. We want our open source and customized forensics tools available on that forensics environment. And also we need it to be secure and hardened. If you spin up an environment which is unsecure and then discovered by IT, then it will be a big problem. So we need to make sure our forensics environment is also secure. The second thing is we want this to applicable to all the regions, applicable to major cloud service provider, AWS, Azure, GCP. We don't want, hey, AWS, you use tools A to spin up the environment. Azure, you use tools B, which is not good. So we want a single tools for all cloud service provider. We want our lab environment inferior to save money. So that environment only up during the incident. And for example, when we create an incident, we spin up the forensics environment, and then when the incident ends, we tear down it, destroy it. But yeah, that environment is inferior, but we need some way because we still want the forensics artifact. So we need a very easy way to archive our forensics artifact to a permanent storage. We also want something like allow collaboration for our forensics environment, so everyone able to support this project, contribute to this project. So we brainstorm after brainstorm, and we figure out we need to use infrastructure as code as a main technology to spin up our environment. So you can see the Terraform logo, Ansible logo, and the Git logo, which is the core of this project. Not everyone knows what is Terraform, but yeah, I want to spend 10 seconds on describe what Terraform do. So we use Terraform to spin up the cloud resources such as VPC, EC2 instance, security group, IAM role. So yeah, definitely you need the Terraform executable. And then you need a cloud access key, because Terraform need to access to your cloud environment. You need a cloud access key to let the Terraform to access to the environment. And you need a configuration file. So on the right side, you can see there is a sample configuration for the Terraform. This is a simplified version of the configuration. It's to spin up an EC2 instance. Yeah, so basically, these are the instant configurations. Ansible. We use Ansible to configure the forensics VM. The Ansible, for example, setting up the directory structure, deploy forensics tools such as parcel, volatility, autopsy, Splunk, etc. So yeah, Ansible need to log on to the host using a SSH key. So you need to generate a SSH key pair or using an existing SSH key pair. Yeah, definitely you need to have an Ansible installed on your machines. And you need a configuration, which is the Ansible playbook. So on the right side is a sample of Ansible playbook example. So you can see this, actually this sample is to automate to create accounts and dark sheets and on the server. So with this, with Ansible, we're able to automate the forensics VM configuration. But the problem is IR team doesn't know how to use Terraform and Ansible. So, and also we don't have time during the incident to deal with this kind of technology. So we want to simplify this. So we added 2 requirements for this project. IR team no need to learn Terraform and Ansible. And the second requirement will be we need a single step to spin up the environment or tear down the environment super fast, a single command. So yeah, we develop a wrapper for Terraform and Ansible. So basically, the wrapper actually in the next slide, the wrapper actually is a bash script to orchestrate, to interact with the Terraform and Ansible to spin up the cloud environment and configure forensics VM. The wrapper actually, so you know, in the previous slide, I showed the Terraform configuration. Ansible configuration is very complex. So what the forensics wrapper do is to extract the configuration. So it only exposes the required configuration to spin up or tear down the forensics VM. So for the forensics wrapper, again, orchestrate Terraform Ansible based on the requirement provided by the incident responder. So yeah, you need to provide a cloud SS key and SH key because Terraform and Ansible need to use it. And yeah, definitely you need a wrapper script and you need a forensics VM configuration. So yeah, so on the right side, is a sample of the forensics VM. You can see, so this example I use, the name of the forensics VM is called first con demo. We can specify the incident name, also first con demo here. You need to specify the cloud provider because you need to teach the forensics VM wrapper, hey, where do you want to spin up the forensics VM? We need to define the environment. The environment means most of the company, they have different environment. Some company has a Gulf cloud environment. Some company has a PCI environment. So we want to develop something universal. So it's applicable to any environment. You can specify region, AZ. You can specify you need to specify your SH key. Define the design instant type based on your usage. And the plugins, I will talk the plugins in a minute. So for the forensics VM configurations, there are multiple. So yeah, typically the IR responder sometimes not only deal with one incident, sometimes they need to deal with multiple incidents. Or maybe one incident, they need to spin up multiple forensics VM. So we need to have something that allow the incident responder to have one location to manage multiple forensics VM. On the right side, you can see a sample configuration file. There are 3 forensics VM. So actually, there are 3 sections: incident 1, incident 2, and incident 3 square bracket. So that one is actually cross-stanza. So it's a section of the configuration file. And for example, the first stanza is called incident 1. Actually, it's the name of the forensics machine. And under this stanza, you can see the corresponding configuration parameters for that forensics VM. Yeah, again, you can define the incident name, VM locations, the disk space requirement and plugins. For the plugin, it's actually the Ansible tag. So So by including the plugin in the configuration file, you can ask the wrapper to ask the wrapper what you want to do or what you want to be installed on the forensics VM. And one of the good things is anyone can develop their plugins. So especially for the forensics community, most of the good tools actually is open source. So many times our teammate found very good tools on GitHub. They want to share it to other people. Typically, they will create new plugins and then add it to the forensics VM. So next time when we spin up the forensics VM, then we have that tools ready, and we don't have to spend time to configuration all the things. And also, it allows the company to create some private plugin. So for example, one of our plugins is to automate our forensics triage for our Adobe application. We do have a couple of Adobe web application, AEM or Magento, Adobe Commerce. So we have some triage script to automatically do a log triage against those applications. Yeah, again, single command to spin up and tear down the forensics VM. The command is just forensics VM, create, and then the stanza name. So the bottom is an example. So you can see incident 1 here. So to spin up is forensics VM, create incident 1. To destroy it, forensics VM, destroy incident 1. Single command. Yeah, so in our incident handling pipeline, you can see in this slide actually illustrate the life cycle for the incident for the forensics VM. So beginning from the incident start, and then we spin up the forensics VM, and then we do a data acquisition, triage, and if we found we need more data, then we will go back to the data acquisition stage, and then incident close, archive the forensics data, and then tear down the forensics VM. So basically, the forensics VM only up during the incident period. For this one, actually, we haven't deep dived into. So for this talk, we are not going to deep dive to this part, for example, triage and also data acquisition. But actually, in our forensics VM, we do have a bunch of script to automate our triage, such as volatility triage, this triage, automatically generate a partial timeline. As I said before, we do have some triage script to triage the application logs. And also, we have some script to archive the data. So one thing is incident responders, sometimes they are lazy and they forgot to archive the data to a permanent storage. So we create a single command to allow them to archive the data to S3 or Azure storage and into a correct location. So that, for example, incident A, you will put the data to the incident A folder. So I go to demo. So let me see if I can. I hope it works. All right. So start with edit the forensics VM configurations. So this is a sample of the default forensics VM configuration. You can see a couple of forensics VM stanza already defined in the files. Actually, those are the sample file. It's a template. So for example, in this example, we want to spin up our AWS forensics VM. The approach is we duplicate and then modify and then use it. So in that case we duplicate the first stanza and paste it in on the top, and then we add it to fit our requirement. So I call it first con demo for the forensics VM name. And then the incident name is also forensics con demo. For this demo, I actually generate a new SH key pair. But if you use your existing key pair, then you don't have to update these configurations. Because this demo is using my personal account, it built to my predicator, so I downgrade the incident type to medium and save the configuration, and then just forensics VM create, and then the stanza name, which is first con demo. You will display the configuration so that you can verify and just tap Y, just input Y, and then you will post it. So you can see the Terraform start up and start to create the environment, spin up creating the cloud components. It takes around 2 minutes to spin up the cloud component. So after Terraform spin up all the cloud component, we need to wait until the SH server's up because the server need to boot and we need to wait for the SH server start. So it takes a couple of seconds. And after SH server up, the SH server's up, and Ansible will kick in and start to configure the forensics VM. Start to configure the forensics VM and start install various forensic tools. So I'm going to maybe fast forward. Yeah, actually a lot of things happening to configure the forensics VM. So everything is automated. And at the end, you will provide you an IP, the username to log on. Then you just SH to the environment. Yeah. The tear down is actually pretty similar. So let me see. The tear down is actually pretty similar. It just Terraform destroy the forensics VM destroy command, a single command. It takes around 1 minute to destroy the environment. You need to re-enter the stanza name to confirm because we don't want to destroy other people's forensics VM. So it's actually pretty fast and within 1 minute to destroy the environment. So for benefits, so the first thing is we're able to create the labs anywhere at any time. These tools actually applicable to all the popular cloud service provider. We're able to analyze the data locally. For example, when we have an incident at a Gulf Cloud environment, we don't have to transfer the data out from the Gulf Cloud environment so that avoid any security compliance issue. And we do have some customer, they don't want to transfer the data out from the country. So our approach is where do the incident happen? We do the forensics there. And further lab environment, not only saving the money, but also we can have a fresh environment at start. And we encourage contribution, standardize the workflow and forensics pipeline. Future development, we want to, so currently the forensics VM only support Linux. We are expanding the coverage to Windows forensics VM. We also want to add more forensics triage tools, and one of the things is want to integrate the forensics VM provisioning inside Jenkins so that we can have something like when we create an incident in a ticketing system, we have option to spin up the forensics VM, provide the requirement for the forensics VM, and it will spin up the forensics VM automatically from the ticketing system. Takeaways. So yeah, one of the things I want to highlight is I suggest to use infrastructure as code to provision our labs. The infrastructure as code technology such as the Terraform and Ansible is not only for DevOps, but also for other areas, for example, security. So we are planning to apply the same methodology for our Purple team testing, and also testing our SIEM correlation rules, and yeah, so it's actually very powerful tools for security. And we also want to standardize and operationalize forensics pipeline, and yeah, I want to highlight is the PPT, People Process Technology. For forensics VM project, we not only create this technology, but also we have a very well-defined process workflow, and we train the people and yeah, test the pipeline regularly, and create a platform to encourage people to contribute and knowledge sharing. That's all I have. Any question?
All right, let's thank the speaker. Are there any questions? There we go.
Thank you. Hello. One of the problems we have with forensic VM in the cloud is also to connect to the compromised EC2, for instance. So do you have that in plan? Do you have tools that you deploy with your Ansible that will allow to ease this part, or you just spawn something standalone, and then after it's the responsibility of the team to do the plumbing? Yeah,
we spin something standalone.
Okay.
So we have a dedicated IR account across different service provider. So yeah, we have a dedicated account. We spin up the environment in a dedicated environment. So actually for this forensics VM project, every forensics VM spin up, they are in a dedicated VPC. And they are, for Azure, we are dedicated resources group, and also a VPC for dedicated VPC for the GCP. So actually, yeah, there is another way to destroy the VPC, destroy the forensics VM is just delete the VPC or delete the resources group.
Okay, and this is available in GitHub or somewhere, or?
I cannot make any promise here. But I am very optimistic on this. And yeah, actually, from technical perspective, we are ready to release open source. But yeah, you need to go for the legal and yeah, this kind of stuff.
Okay, thank you.
The last question.
You mentioned this is ready for Linux at the moment. Do you usually go for a vanilla base image, or do you deploy customized forensic images as a base image?
You mean customized forensics image?
Kali Linux and Helix and...
So, yeah, Kali Linux, typically we rely on tools, not the distribution. So, we currently supporting CentOS and Red Hat Linux, but it's just an Ansible script. We are planning to expand it to Ubuntu. So basically, it depends on your company policy. So one of the benefits for using forensics VM is you can make use of your company Go image. So you don't have to, so for us, actually, in our project, we use Adobe Go image to spin up our forensics VM. So you have an option to use your company Go image to do that. And yeah, I think for forensics VM, it's not tied to any distribution. It's to fit your company environment, the requirement.
All right, with this, our time is up. So thank you again, Tim.
Yeah, thank you.